Man, what a game. Tell you what, tale of two halves, and I give our guys a lot of credit. They showed a lot of mental toughness and physical toughness, especially in that second half. You know, the Warriors did a great job shooting the ball from the three-point line in the first half, obviously. They had 12 threes in the first half, 5 in the second half, which was big for us. We needed them to make to not make as many threes as they made in the first half. Otherwise, we'd be in trouble. So our defense around the three-point line dramatically improved in that second half. We were flying around. We were just communicating and trying to figure it out because they're so talented and they move. They don't have a ton of play calls and then just move off of instinct and pass the ball off of instinct. And so we have to talk our defense through a lot. You know, I told our guys we were down 0-2 against this team, and you know, not necessarily for the end-season tournament, but just for playoff seeding. And I said we need to claw our way back and try to see if we can even this thing out so that come playoff seeding time, they don't have the head-to-head against us. And so this was the first step, and it'd be great the next time that we meet them to see if we could try to even the series out, you know, with these guys. You know, we always talk about being ready, you know, staying ready. And I felt like we had two guys that came off the bench and were big for us. You know, the first one was Keon. Keon came off the bench. He had a big three for us when we were struggling a little bit. And then, you know, he gave Steph a different look. You're not stopping Steph Curry. You just want to make him work. And you know, you look at the stat sheet, and he's 8 for 20. You know, you live with 8 for 20 when you're talking about a Hall of Famer in Steph Curry. You live with that every night of the week, and you hope you can get a win while living with that. And Keon had a couple of minutes defending him. So great job by Keon staying ready. And then obviously Sasha. You know, Sasha, you know, Keon was out because he was injured. Sasha was out because he had been out of the rotation a little bit. And he came off the bench and he hit 2 big threes for us. Hit 2 big threes, but just as importantly, I thought he had some big rebounds, and he had a big block, maybe even 2 blocks. But defensively, he impacted the game at a very high level. And then, you know, just being out on the floor, you got to guard him. If you play off him, he's going to make you pay. So those 2 guys stayed ready. And they went out there and they impacted the game at a very high level. But you know, this was about our second half defense. Our second half defense was very good. You know, against the Warriors, they scored 51 points in a half. Not only did they score 51 points in a half, they had 20 turnovers. We needed every single point of the 26 points that we had off their turnovers, obviously, to get this game. And, you know, obviously a lot of it had to do because we didn't shoot the ball well from the free throw line. But to say you walked away from the second half with those guys scoring 51 points is huge. And then down the stretch, you know, we didn't want to call a timeout. We knew they didn't have any. We didn't want them to be able to go offense, defense with their group. And so we just kept playing the game. And our guys, they had 2 big hits on Steph down the stretch, and it was just basically us yelling from the sideline, go hit, go hit, go hit. And our guys executed the hits very well. Obviously, one, Malik hits a big three for us. And then the second one kind of sped him up a little bit. Draymond ended up turning the ball over when he threw it out of bounds, which led to the game winner from Malik. So I take my hat off to our team defense in the second half. A lot of different guys stepped up and played the way that we needed to play in order to squeak out a win versus a very good team. But I would, you know, I got to mention that Darren Fox, what a game. And I say what a game from the standpoint that not only are we asking him to score, okay, we're asking him to score, push the pace, get guys involved, make plays for yourself and for others. We're asking him to do that at a high level. But if you want the definition of a two-way player, you look at that second half tonight. And he went from guarding Klay Thompson to Steph Curry, back to Klay Thompson to Steph Curry, guarded Draymond a little bit. I mean, he was all over the place defensively. That's the definition of a two-way player. Put him in Webster's.
Hey, Mike. Before the game, you talked about, or you were asked about the mental hurdle of beating these guys, and Malik was in here and he said when Draymond got the tech, that's when you guys saw that opportunity to really strike. But how did you see your team keep their composure from being down 24, chipping away, went on a 7-0 run to close the first half, then you chip a little bit more in the third quarter, and then just really being able to strike when the opportunity presented itself?
It's a long game. And at the beginning of the game, they were hitting threes, but even I kind of found myself just kind of sitting back and letting the game try to unfold. Obviously, to get down 22 or 24, whatever we did, I didn't expect that, and I wasn't hoping for that, but it happened. And when it happened at a point of the game where it was still early. And, you know, we've been through a lot. This group has been through a lot. They've been through a lot of adversity, and they always seem to find a way to just to persevere, to figure it out at the end of the day. And our group did that. Nobody panicked. We just kept trying to find ways. We talked about what we were doing wrong in the timeouts. We were starting to get a little carried away as a staff at the officials, and Malik came over and scolded all of us coaches. He said, "Hey, leave the officials alone. You guys need to be quiet." And I'm glad he did. You know, we all got to be held accountable. That was probably the only thing that got a little testy is when Malik told us to shut up, and we were kind of looking at each other. Did he just do that? Hey, he just did that. Okay, maybe we should listen to him. And we did. And once we did that, in my opinion, that's when we took off.
Was that like the third quarter or the second quarter?
It was in the second half when he came over and said that. Yeah.
Mike, how do you see the progress? How do you see the progress of Sasha from star in EuroLeague to a new?
From what?
From a star in EuroLeague.
Okay.
That was a star in EuroLeague, now in a new role in Sacramento Kings.
In what role in Sacramento Kings?
A new role.
Oh, new role. Yeah. Hey, you know, it's part of the process. I even talked to him about this. I had the pleasure, fortune, whatever you want to call it, to be able to coach a guy that was pretty good over in Europe named Manu Ginobili. And he came over about the same age as Sasha, 26, 27 years old, and he had done a pretty good job in Europe. And he was starting for a pretty good team in Europe at the time. And when he came over, I think initially we tried to start him. It didn't work out. Then we moved him to the bench. And then he actually probably had a couple of DNPs before he just was a guy that came off the bench that first year. So he didn't crack the starting lineup for us in San Antonio for at least a year. And it's an adjustment not only for the player, but also for the coaching staff too, to figure out how you want to be able to utilize him as a player to help your team at the highest level. And so I just told Sasha, hey, you know how to play. I know you know how to play. You got a good feel for the game. You can shoot the ball. I said, there's not going to be a time that I'm going to tell you that you took a bad shot, because you can be one of the greatest shooters out there. You just got to let it fly. I said, and if you're playing, great. If you're not playing, you've been through tougher situations than this, so you got to keep your head in the game and you got to stay ready. And when your number's called, I'm sure you'll produce, and that's what happened tonight.
Mike, going back to last season, Malik made a comment about this is always the player that he's been. It's just here in Sacramento he's been allowed to kind of express himself and play his style of basketball. I know you've talked about if he plays on the defensive end, you'll just let him go. But how important is the right environment for a player like Malik who can make so much happen?
I think not just for Malik, for a lot of players, you know, in the league, and not just with our team, with other teams too. And sometimes if it's the right fit for a player, then the player can blossom. And when that player blossoms, it helps the team. And, you know, I'm sure if you asked a handful of our guys, you know, that, you know, the way we try to play, especially when it's a style that caters to a lot of our players individually. You know, Kevin's a prime example. In Atlanta, he was more of a space spot-up shooter. Here, you know, we're able to utilize the velocity of his movement to help not just him, but his teammates. And so, you know, I've been in the league a long time, and one of the things that it took me a little bit, but one of the things that I've figured out is, you know, you have to try to cater, especially offensively, cater your offense to your group of players. If you don't have a post-up player, you can't try to play through the post and try to score on the post, you know. And Jay Triano and Luke Laux and the rest of the coaching staff do a fantastic job of trying to identify what our strengths are as individual players and make sure those fit into what we're trying to do with our team concepts on offense and the floor.
Mike, how did you view that last possession before Malik hit that shot? Just kind of take us through from your eyes.
Crazy. You know, but the way this game was going, for me, I was okay with it because the more chaotic it was, it seemed to be in our favor because, you know, our guys were finding ways to respond, and throughout the chaos, it was bringing them energy. And so I just, you know, a couple of times, you know, we could have called a timeout here, we could have called a timeout there. The only reason why I called a timeout is as soon as when Foxy attacked, he attacked with two pretty good defenders right there. And so I saw it, and I knew, hey, I gotta be ready to call a timeout. And as soon as he went down, I started shouting it, everybody on the bench did, and that's why we took that timeout. Otherwise, we'd let that thing just end when the buzzer or stop, the action stopped when the buzzer sounded. So it was chaotic. Our guys did a fantastic job of trying to play for each other during that chaos offensively, and then even defensively too. You know, we had that hit. Malik read the hit. He came up and took and stole the ball, knocked down the three. So I give our guys a lot of credit for finding a way to play through that chaos.
Mike, 8 minutes for Malik in the first half. I think he finished with almost 26. Was there something going on in the first half? Was he in the doghouse a little bit or feeling something?
He wasn't in the doghouse. I just thought, and you know, you can ask him this. This is just my opinion. I thought he lost Clay a couple of times, and so I felt like I needed to make a change, and so I made a change. And when I made a change, I tried to play Keon, I think, and a couple other guys, and so just didn't give him an opportunity to get back out on the floor.
And I asked you before the game about psychological advantages, barriers, whatever you want to call it. And whether you buy into any of that or not, how good is it to beat this team in this fashion, come back, win a big game? What does it do for you and for the group?
Well, the first thing is, again, I mean, I don't really buy into it. We might even won the series last year against the Warriors. I don't remember. And then they beat us in the playoffs. And I addressed this to my team 2 days ago. I told my team, I said, in 2005, you know, we lost the regular season series 1-3 to the Wizards, and we beat them in 6 games in the playoffs. And so I said, the regular season, you know, it's great for certain things. I said, but I don't buy into the fact if they win tomorrow, we're down 0-3, and they win the next game, we're down 0-4, or even if we win the next 2 games, you know, I don't think it's going to have a huge impact come playoff time. The best team is going to win 99.9999% of the time, in my opinion. The best team is going to win a playoff series, a 7-game playoff series especially. And so I told them, more importantly, you know, it's the end season tournament. Let's go get a win because of that. And on top of that, you know, we're thinking about playoff seeding. And so, you know, we're down to 3 teams right now. We're down to Golden State, we're down to Houston, we're down to New Orleans. And so we don't want to lose that head to head, because at the end of the day, they could have an advantage come playoff time. So in my opinion, those two reasons were more important to go get the win, and plus we want to win, than just a psychological advantage right now that I don't think really will carry over come playoff time. But you would have to ask each individual guy. This is what I told my team.
Coach, the shooting guard position, you've in the past, tried different things out with moving Kevin Herter to the bench and things like that, but Malik has never really cracked into the starting lineup. How important is it to keep him with that second unit?
I'm a firm believer, it's not about who starts the game, it's who finishes the game. And Malik gives us a huge punch off the bench, huge punch, and he gives us as a staff a lot of versatility. We can play a lot of different lineups with him coming off the bench, and then at the end of the day, like I said, if we want to end the game with him on the floor, we can. If we want to end it with somebody else, we can as well. So, I said it last year, sixth man of the year, it's always, last year was no brainer, should have gone to Malik. Obviously, he's, in my opinion, leading candidate for it again this year, and hopefully people will recognize, because we're on national TV a couple more times this year, but people will recognize how valuable he is for us coming off the bench.
Last one, Leo.
Yesterday in practice, you mentioned that you still think that your defense has room to improve after
Yeah.
tonight. Do you think this team is capable of being a top 10 defense?
I think we're capable of anything if we put our mind to it. I challenge our guys to see if we can, for sure I think we should finish top 15. I challenge our guys to see if we can get in the top 10. Last year we were 25th, 26th, 27th, something like that. And so to take the jump to where we are right now, I applaud our guys. That means they're doing something right. But at the end of the day, I truly believe you got to defend at a high level if you want to get to where we expect to get to come playoff time.